Hi guys, Mr. Morris here. Some of you guys are finishing your notes. You should have your three sources done pretty soon. Hopefully by Tuesday you should have your three sources done so we can start the template. And some of you already have your three sources done. So let's take a look at the template, or as you can also call it, an outline. This is the writing you're going to do before you make a rough draft. This is taking all the pieces you have and putting them together so it kind of makes sense to write your rough draft and of course later write your finished draft. So this is what it looks like on Canvas. You're going to make a copy of it and you are going to type in your information or even have some paper available so you can write your information in on this. So let's take a look at the one I've already made. Okay, here's one I've already made. And with this template or outline, if you will, here's a couple of things. Well, the first thing I'm going to have you do, we'll come back to this hook for a second, but the first thing I want to have you do where it says write your thesis statement, I want you to actually write your thesis statement. And now this is your working thesis statement. This could be a thesis statement that you later change based on the information you find. Or maybe you realize you have a better argument saying something else, or even tweaking a few words. So here's my thesis that I wrote. Our country's First Amendment does an amazing job at protecting the people's rights for many things. Okay. Now I have three things, three support statements I have to prove in order to make sure my thesis makes sense. So here down below, my three pieces of evidence, here are my three support statements. We have the right to free speech and writing, we have the right to freedom of religion, and we have the right to peaceably assemble and protest something. Okay. So I have this section and this section pretty much already done. So I'm going to put those pieces there. You do it as well in yours. And let's go back up here and take a look at this hook. A hook is something we put at the very beginning of our paper to draw in and bring people into our paper. Maybe it's something that you dramatically say, maybe it's something you make them think about, but it hooks them and brings them in as readers before we actually tell them what our paper is about. Here's what I wrote. Can you imagine living in a country where you cannot say what you think and believe in a God you choose? So that might make the reader think, I couldn't imagine living in a country like that. It's not like our country, the USA. And then I go right into my thesis. And then after my thesis, I go into my three support statements because this is what my paper is going to be about. Let's move down a little bit. Here is our second paragraph. That's what P2 looks like. But this is our first body paragraph. Now, as you can see, I have these three statements here, these three evidence statements in different colors. Why? Because each one of them is going to be a body paragraph. Let's take a look at this third one. And I put it here because we roll easily into the next paragraph. And this is the last thing I talk about in my thesis paragraph. We have the right to peaceably assemble and protest something. I jump down here. What's my main point? Well, this is my paragraph for that. You have the right to peaceably assemble and protest something. Cite your source. Where did I get it? www.kids.usa.gov. So now my citation's there. But this is not the final citation. This is my in-text citation. So the person reading it knows I didn't just make this up. I found it. And this is what it says, that site. Now later you're going to have an MLA posting at the bottom of your paper using EasyBib. And we'll talk about that later. Then the last thing I do in this argumentative, in this paragraph here, my evidence paragraph, is I actually take my notes. Remember the source? So I got this from my source. I actually take my notes and jot down some of the notes. I try and make it make sense. So what basically did I find out from this website about having the right to assemble and protest something? Here's what I found it in my notes. Now I'm just going to jot down some stuff. I'm not done. This is my outline. I still have more to write later, but this is just putting my thoughts in order. Let's go down to the next paragraph. This is my third paragraph overall, P3, but my second body paragraph. And if you notice, you go back up here to my support statements. Here we have the right to freedom of religion. I have that in pink, and here's this paragraph for it. We have the right to freedom of religion. Where did I get it? Well, youtube.com. I watched a film called Our Country's Freedom's Under Attack. And here are the notes I jotted down from that notes section. Remember the boxes and bullets? Well, this is the information I came up with. I'm kind of putting it together. It's not really focused yet, but this is my outline. And I'm putting them here in my template. And then down here, I have my fourth overall paragraph, and this is my third body paragraph. And you're right, this is red because this is my third. We have the right to free speech and writing. I'm going to come down here. We have the right to free speech or expressive speech, free speech and writing. Here's where I got it, aclu.org. so people know I didn't just make this up. And here is the information. And again, this is from my boxes and bullets notes that I took from the aclu.org website. But again, it's kind of rough, but that's okay because this is before the rough draft. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm saying. And then I get down here to the conclusion. And the conclusion is my fifth paragraph and my final paragraph. Now, I started off here with, in conclusion, our First Amendment of the Constitution is important to us for rights it gives. Okay, that's my opening statement. You can say, in conclusion, or to conclude, or finally, and that's kind of how I like to write. I never say, I think, or I believe, because we're writing argumentative paper, not specifically from my point of view, from a general point of view. Then, as you can see, I'm going to go back over my main points. The amendment gives us the right to speak our minds and write it. Hey, just like the red. I'm going to review my three statements. People can gather together and protest something, or even for it. My blue, because that's my blue statement. And then in pink, people can believe as they choose and without fearing the government telling them they can't, because that was my pink statement. And then I'm going to finalize it with just, once again, making sure everybody understands that I am in concert. I'm saying the same thing my thesis did. It is clear that this amendment is amazing because remember, what did my thesis say? Let's go back up to my thesis paragraph. Our country's First Amendment does an amazing job at protecting the people's rights for many things. Now we have our thesis paragraph with our three supports, my hook, my thesis, my supports. My first body paragraph explaining my support and where I got it. My second body with my point, where I got it. Here's my information for my support. And then my fourth paragraph, which is my third body paragraph with my third support, where I got it and the information from that site. And then my conclusion, my fifth overall and final paragraph. And what this does, once again, in conclusion, and I go over my 3 points again, and then I finish off making sure that my thesis is answered and agreed with. And this is how you make an outline before you make a rough draft, and of course before your final. This kind of lets you see what your paper is going to look like as you start to format it and put it in order. If you have any questions, ask me, Mr. Coldestall, Mrs. Schlueter, or Mrs. Dickert-Sturts. I hope this helps. Thanks.